First of all, the law requires all unclassified documents related to Epstein to be released. It's obvious they have not met that standard. Blanchard himself admitted that they only are releasing a few 100,000 documents, and the rest of the documents they will be releasing in the weeks ahead.
Public outrage is continuing to grow across the United States following the latest release of heavily redacted government files related to Jeffrey Epstein, reigniting debates over the scope of his network and the handling of evidence. On December 19th, the U.S. Department of Justice published a long-awaited batch of documents connected to Epstein's criminal investigations, a release many had hoped would shed new light on decades of alleged misconduct. However, several Democratic lawmakers have criticized the Justice Department for what they described as missing files and photographs, claiming that key pieces of visual evidence were omitted from the official release. As the controversy gains momentum, the Justice Department has firmly denied all accusations of a cover-up, insisting that the documents published follow legal procedures and that additional materials remain classified for security and privacy reasons. The U.S. Deputy Attorney General said, quote, "We don't have perfect information. And so when we hear from victims' rights groups about this type of photograph, we pull it down and investigate. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up, and the only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo." Unquote. According to Justice Department spokesperson Todd Blanche, 16 specific redactions and removals from the Epstein document release were carried out in direct response to formal requests made by victim advocacy organizations seeking to protect survivors' privacy. When pressed by reporters on whether any of the omissions were politically motivated or designed to shield powerful individuals, Blanche responded emphatically, "Absolutely not," rejecting all suggestions of political interference. The clarification came as the U.S. Justice Department acknowledged it had restored one image previously removed from the Epstein case files following public scrutiny and media inquiries. That image, featuring a wooden desk with an open drawer, reportedly included a small photograph depicting President Donald Trump alongside several women, a detail that had fueled speculation after initial redactions. Officials further stated that all images temporarily withdrawn from the release had been pulled solely for verification and content review purposes, not censorship, and would be reintroduced into the public record once cleared. The U.S. Department of Justice said, quote, "Out of an abundance of caution, the Department of Justice temporarily removed the image for further review. After the review, it was determined there is no evidence that any Epstein victims are depicted in the photograph, and it has been reposted without any alteration or redaction." Unquote. The decision to temporarily remove a photo featuring former President Donald Trump from the Epstein files triggered a wave of outrage among Democratic lawmakers, who questioned the motives behind the redaction. Several prominent Democrats argued that the move amounted to clear political interference, accusing the Justice Department of shielding the sitting president and manipulating evidence to manage public perception.
First of all, the law requires all unclassified documents related to Epstein to be released. It's obvious they have not met that standard. Blanchard himself admitted that they only are releasing a few 100,000 documents, and the rest of the documents they will be releasing in the weeks ahead. It is disappointing that they haven't been able to release these documents on time in compliance with the law. While it's clear they're trying at the very least to meet the deadline, they should have been able to do more. And if they couldn't do it, they should have met with the survivors' lawyers or with the Oversight Committee or with Massey and me to explain why not. But at this point, what we need is a clear timeline of when the rest of the documents will be released and an explanation for why they did not release all of them today. The second thing is that some of the documents, I've just been scanning them, have very heavy redactions. This including documents for which judges ordered released, like the grand jury testimony in New York. They owe the Congress and the American public an explanation for every redaction. That I didn't see published on the DOJ page, but the law is very clear that any redaction has to be justified in writing. They need to do that. Look, the Justice Department has very little credibility. Pam Bondi said months ago there was nothing more to release. Now they've contradicted themselves. Obviously, there was more to release given that they're releasing hundreds of thousands of new documents. Now, the question is, how do we believe them? We know from the survivors' lawyers who've seen a lot of the files what are the key documents. Obviously, we can't be sure if it's fully comprehensive, but there are a lot of survivors' lawyers who've seen many of the key documents. There are many survivors and survivors' lawyers who know some of the other rich and powerful men who were on Epstein's rape island, who want those names out there, who know other men who trafficked in women or in some cases even abused women. And if those names are not coming out there, if those witness interviews are not coming out there, we know it's an incomplete release. We could hold impeachment hearings for Pam Bondi if it gets to that, or Todd Blanche. We could hold them in inherent contempt of Congress, again, if it gets to that. We could refer Justice Department officials for criminal prosecution if it looks like they have engaged in excessive redaction or tampering. And we can support lawsuits to abide by the law. All options are on the table.
According to a report carried by The Guardian, victims' rights advocates told CNN that the process of the document release had once again failed Epstein survivors, exposing inconsistencies in how the justice system protects them. High-profile attorney Gloria Allred echoed those concerns, telling CNN that many survivors' names and identities should never have been made public, describing the release as reckless and re-traumatizing. As a result, the Trump administration now faces intense scrutiny over the handling of these files, with critics claiming that the process lacked transparency and undermined confidence in federal oversight. The backlash has even begun to fracture parts of Trump's own support base, with some MAGA loyalists defending the administration's decisions while others express growing unease over its approach to the controversy.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.